It's me again, and today I wanted to talk about Reform, the SaaS product that I am working on and have been for 2 years. And I've talked a lot about being at a revenue plateau. I think a revenue plateau is not really an accurate description of how I feel about it right now. I think a better way to frame it is just that I feel stuck with it more so. I think I could totally figure out ways to make more revenue from what I have right now, but it's more so a problem of just like feeling stuck with kind of what I have and where to take it. And as I sort of mentioned in yesterday's video, I'm at a really privileged spot where I don't really have to make a ton of money from Reform in order to sustain myself, because I also have a salary while still having time to work on Reform, which is extremely privileged and awesome and allows me to bootstrap it basically. So, but I thought to kind of maybe set the stage a little bit, I'll just explain how I think I got here with the product. And because one problem I've always had with Reform is that it's never really had like a strong vision or a clear persona, user persona. So, with my first product, WP Pusher, my first successful product, which I sold 2 years ago, it was a product for to help deploy WordPress sites from a Git repository. And it sort of had three potential users. It could be a freelancer, it could be a agency, or it could be a company just having a WordPress website. But no one else would use it. There are only those three personas. So it's just so obvious, who was using it, how it was providing them value, what the features they wanted were. It was very niche, so that's why it never got super big or anything. But as a product, I feel like it's very successful. It had a very clear value proposition. I loved like writing copy for it and stuff because it just came natural to me. And the first time people used WP Pusher, they would describe it in terms like magic. The first time Justin Jackson from Transistor, he used it, he created an entire YouTube video about it and a blog post about like how awesome he thought it was. It was that kind of product, and that would make me feel really good. When I started Reform, it was more like I feel like Typeform has gotten really bad and I kind of want something better, and I'm also looking for an idea. And other people I talked to also didn't really like Typeform very much anymore. They weren't necessarily the same exact type of person. They were just people sort of like me, my friends. So that's why we started building it. And so the product that we built was basically, the very first version of the product, which we built in like 3 weeks, was like, okay, let's use it ourselves for an early access form, And then the next was like, okay, let's get my friend Derek from SavvyCal to use it for something. And we did that in like 6 weeks, And so just kind of built it to be like an awesome little form builder tool for myself and my friends. And because I have a lot of friends on the internet, and a couple thousand people following me on Twitter and 1,000 people listen to our podcast and so on and so on, and that's how it got started. And it got off to a really great start. It was product of the week of Product Hunt, and people seem to really like it, and I think they still do, most of them. And that worked really well as like a launch pad for it. But then, after about maybe 6 months or something, sort of tapped out that audience and kind of ran out of friends to sell it to. And it doesn't mean that it's still not a great product and that no one else wants it. It's just that it's hard to basically find the next group of people to buy it, because how are you going to describe it? How you describe it is like, hey, here's a form builder that me and all my friends like, and maybe you'll like it too. Who do you present that messaging to? You know, like that's when it starts to get real, that you need some sort of like target customer or a niche or positioning, better positioning, or more like streamlined and focused, and you need to kind of decide who you're building it for. And I've never found that for Reform. And I think I've felt like guilt around it. Like I've felt like I needed to, like for it to be real, I had to say that this is like the best form builder for sales teams to collect their leads or something. But I've never found anything that I truly believed in or was excited to build. The only thing I'm excited to build for Reform is a form builder that I like to use myself. You know, as late as yesterday, I had a feature idea for Reform that I actually think is like one of the coolest ideas I've ever had for it. And I got really excited, and I was like, but that, you know, still doesn't solve the core problem of who it's for. So that's why I feel stuck. And I kind of just want to go ahead and build that feature, but at the same time, I'm not really sure it's gonna take me, you know, past that original group of friends or followers or whatever you want to call them, listeners. I'm thinking about a company like Basecamp these days, right? Like, do they have very good positioning? Like, yeah, small business, but if someone in my family that has never heard about Jason Fried or DHH would start a small business, they wouldn't find Basecamp, I think. They would find Asana or something. I think they just have many more internet friends than I do. Like, I think if my buddy Adam from Tailwind that I work for started Reform, and he has like an audience that's like 100 times bigger than mine, he would just be 100 times more successful with it, basically. And I've actually seen this with SavvyCal, which Derek from SavvyCal and I are in the same mastermind. So I saw him launch that, and the ratios of like how many customers he got early on, etc., are very similar to Reform. We did almost the same thing, but his audience was like 5 or 10 times bigger than mine. And so initially his product was like 5 or 10 times more successful, which allowed him to like go full time quickly. And he also like figured out a way to sell it to people beyond just his closest internet friends. So, but I never have. And that's kind of where I feel stuck right now. I don't want this video to be too long, so I'll stop now. But yeah, I thought this was like some good context for just kind of explaining where I'm at, and maybe tomorrow or another day I can talk more about it and kind of talk about some of the things I'm doing literally right now to try to figure out what my next step is going to be with Reform. Thanks for watching.